Hi, this is Benjamin Potter, and I again want to do another guitar demonstration based on the Pod HD500X. Today I want to look at how the Pod HD handles other Stompboxes. So I'm actually going to do two different scenarios. I'm going to start off with one where I have a few more gain-based pedals that I'm running directly in front of the pod. And this is probably one of the more probable solutions or more popular things that a person would want to do with a pod as far as using other Stompboxes, is using some more high-end overdrives, or even, as I have, not so high-end, but just some other overdrive pedals that you like in front of the pod. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to run some of these same pedals with a couple other pedals, including some that I'm actually going to run into the effects loop of the pod. So you'll get a chance to hear how things like delay and chorus can work in the effects loop that the Pod HD500 gives you. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot of time talking about my tones that I'm using on the pod. If you want more information on that, you can look at my other Pod HD500 video kind of that talks about using it in more of a praise and worship setting. I kind of go into in depth into how I've created my patches in that video. I will take you through just a quick look at the pedals that I'm using. First, I'm going into the MXR micro amp, which is just a boost pedal. It's just a volume boost pedal that I have. Next, I go into the Electro Harmonics Soul Food pedal, which is a overdrive pedal. It's kind of bidded to be a transparent overdrive, which it is not. It does have a mid boost to it, like the SD1 that you see next to it does, like a Tube Screamer would, like a lot of overdrive pedals do. But I guess where they can kind of get away calling it transparent is if you turn the drive all the way off, you can get a clean, transparent volume boost by just turning up the volume knob. So with the gain off, it is pretty transparent. It doesn't color your tone a lot, but once you start turning the gain up, it does start adding some mid boost. So I have that for some light overdrive stuff. Next to it is the Boss Super Overdrive SD1, kind of a standard overdrive pedal, been in production for a long time, used by a lot of guitar players. And I use that for a little bit heavier overdrive. You can see that the drive knob still is not turned up very high on it. The SD1 does have more gain on tap than the Soul Food does, so even though the drive is higher on the Soul Food than the SD1, I'm getting more of a drive sound, just a little bit more out of the SD1. And then lastly, going into the Delta Lab Rock Distortion pedal, which is more of a distortion than an overdrive. So it's going to be a lot heavier than either of the other two. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you what each of these sounds, what each of these pedals do running in front of the Pod HD500. I'm going to be using a Epiphone Les Paul 100 for this part of the demonstration, and I'm going to be using a Marshall Plexi Super Lead amp model from the pod. So I'm running a USB cable directly from the pod into my computer, and that's how I'll be recording the audio. Okay, so we'll start. This is just my clean tone. On the bridge pickup. So we'll start with the micro amp. Now normally a boost pedal running into a clean amp, we would expect it to obviously, with the amp pretty clean, to provide some volume boost, but then also to kick that amp into saturation, kind of getting some drive from the amp. So here is the micro amp. Here is again the clean tone. Okay, so we definitely hear an increase in volume. We also hear some breakup from the amp start to occur. Again, there is no, the micro amp is not a distortion pedal. There is no drive coming from that pedal. It is just a pure volume boost. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the expression pedal down on the pod. I have that set to give me more drive from the amp. So now the drive on the amp is turned up. So here's the amp tone. Okay, now I'm going to use the micro amp to boost that drive sound. So because we're already into a drive tone from the amp, it's not going to increase my volume as much as it did before, but it is going to hit that amp harder and cause it to break up even more. So here's again from the amp. Here's the pedal. Alright, so let's set the amp back to clean. And let's look at the soul food. Okay, so just getting a pretty light overdrive. I have the treble kind of turned up a little bit, so brightening that tone some. If I dial that back, all right. Let's look at the SD1. Okay, sorry it's a little out of tune, so again we get a little bit heavier drive from the SD1. I can increase the drive from the amp, add the soul food. Again, just the amp. Soul food. Just kind of tightens it up a little bit. Again, keeping the drive down, keeping the drive up on the amp, rather, with the SD1. Turn the treble back up a little bit on the soul food. Alright, I'm going to go back to the clean amp sound. And let's look at the Delta Labs Rock Distortion. This would be kind of a little bit more comparable to the Boss DS1 probably. So here it is. So let's push that rock distortion with the MXR. So really like that MXR micro amp. It boost pedals can serve so many great purposes, from being an always-on pedal that you use to just kind of warm up your amp a little bit, to being something that you use just for solo boost, to being something that you use to just push some of your other pedals. I find that you know, the soul food with the SD1 in front of it. Got some really, just kind of brings that pedal to life. So, that's a look at some drive pedals running into the pod. I'm going to go ahead and set up a couple other pedals and show you, run some of them into the effects loop, and just kind of show you how that works. So, let me set that up, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, so as you can see, I've kind of expanded my pedal board a little bit. I'm running my guitar, first of all, into this old DoD compressor sustainer. From there, I'm going into the MXR micro amp, into the soul food, into the SD1, as we saw earlier. And from there, I'm going out into the pod HD500. Then I'm hitting the effects send out of the HD500 into this DoD Icebox stereo chorus pedal. I'm going stereo out of the chorus pedal into the Boss DD7, which is being controlled by this Boss FS5U tap tempo down here. And then I'm going stereo out of the DD7 back into the pod. For this part of the demonstration, I'm going to use a Squier Affinity Stratocaster, and I'm going to be using a Fender Deluxe amp model on the pod. And I don't know if my camera is going to pick this up. There we go. You can see right after the amp model, let me see if I can tab over. Right after the amp model is where I have the effects loop placed. So the effects loop is coming right after the amp. I'm not really going to use any of the other effects on the pod. Right now I have it kind of set up so that I can use it without external pedals. So I have a compressor and some drive pedals in front of the amp. And then after the effects loop, I have some delays and some reverbs. So really, though, the only effect that you're going to hear from the pod is the spring reverb that I have at the end of the chain, and I might get into the looper a little bit as well. If you notice down here, though, I have the send on the effects loop set to -6. And let's see if I can find the knob without looking at it. If I scroll over, you can see that the return is at a +6. The reason for that is I noticed that, especially when I kicked on some of the drive pedals, with the chorus pedal that I have running into the effects loop, it was hitting the chorus pedal too hard and causing the chorus pedal to actually distort. So the pod has a way to adjust that. You can turn the send level down so it sends a less hot signal out to your chorus pedal. And then I can make up for that volume difference by then amplifying the return. So my send is at a -6. My return is at a +6. That keeps it at an even volume when the pedals are on or off. If the effects loop is on or off, I actually turned on and off the effects loop and didn't hear any volume difference. So that's another cool feature. Some pedals just aren't built to handle certain levels of sound, of volume. And that's an issue that you can have with running some pedals into an effects loop, but thankfully Line 6 has accommodated for that. Now, if you try and run drive pedals through the effects loop, that will affect the way that your guitars sound with drive pedals. In fact, I tried running some drive pedals into the effects loop, even without just setting the send and return volume at 0, and I noticed that with my Les Paul especially, my guitar interacted with the drive pedals differently with them in the effects loop than it did with them in front, and so that's why I chose to run the drive pedals in front of the pod. So anyway, let me go ahead and pick up my guitar and show you. I'll spend, I'll do a little bit with the drive pedals, but since we already heard those, I'll probably do a little bit more with the chorus and delay in the effects loop so you can see how that works. Okay, so again, I'm using a Squier Affinity Stratocaster into a Fender Deluxe. Here's my clean tone. The bridge pickup. Let's listen to the Soul Food. SD1. Let's turn the volume up just a touch. Let's give it a little bit of a boost. Alright, that's with the bridge pickup. I'm going to switch up to the neck pickup. And let's listen to some stereo chorus. I'll admit this is not the best chorus pedal in the world, but definitely running it stereo. Running it stereo, I think it works. And with the Boss DD7, it actually has several different stereo modes. The mode that I have it set on right now is a panning mode, so you're going to kind of hear the delay bounce from left to right. So switch to the position number 3. Okay, so that's just overview kind of those pedals and the effects loop. I guess the only other thing that I have here that I haven't showed you is my compressor, which is very old. Has some dirty pots. I really only use it when I have to. But if you use it kind of with the delay, kind of adds a little bit. Works really well with the clean sound to kind of give you that definition, especially if you're trying to do a delay. Kind of gives you that little clicky sound in between to kind of pronounce the sound. So anyway, that is the Pod HD500X with some other Stompboxes. Just showing you that as an amp modeler, it really does a decent job of emulating how an amp would handle different sort of effects, and gives you those features like a send and return level on the effects loop that you know, even a lot of amps that have effects loops don't give you that option. So really cool piece of gear. It served me well, and I hope that this has been informative for you. Thank you for watching.